Are you looking for a better way to play player props or daily fantasy sports? Well, look no further than Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the leading over-under daily fantasy game. Why? Because it's so easy to use and win. You can make your picks in under 30 seconds and win up to 10 times your money in one day. Right now, we have a special offer for our viewers and listeners of Ain't Hard to Tell podcast. All you got to do is sign up now and use the promo code BACKPACK. Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's right. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. So, join the over 150,000 others who found a better way to play and download the Prize Picks app today. Hard to Tell podcast, episode 221. We are back after a week off. Dexter, Henry, Bryan, Fonseca here. I had to take a little bit of time away, Bryan, last week. Relax the mind of spring break. Took the daughter up to Legoland. Had some fun there. She was moving bricks, Legos. Not
look, you can't look. Pusha T just dropped this album. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he literally just came out on Friday, which we probably should talk about at some point.
We should. We probably should.
We haven't texted about that, but like, I got to give it a couple more listens. I'll put it to you that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But it was a good trip up there. I know you are in a good mood, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about this episode because Bryan's Heat, at the time of recording this, is up 3-1 in the first round against the Atlanta Hawks. He's going to say it's not his team, but we all know.
Look, and honestly, it should be a sweep. It should be 4-0 at this point. They gave up one game, and they've been whooped. Look, all I'm saying
Here we go.
Look, this is all I'm going to say because we have to get to our guests.
Yes.
We want to keep our guests waiting. All I'm going to say, because we may or may not get to this later in the show.
Yes.
Mad people were just like, oh, Trae Young's the best player in the series, whatever. And I'm like, whoa, according to whom? Does anyone not care about defense here?
Well,
and I'm just saying, the way things have played out, the supposed best player in the series has been in jail the entire time.
He has.
37-year-old PJ Tucker has been one of these people locking his ass up.
See, and
PJ Tucker's been very good defensively. So I don't mean to say that that's a bad thing or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I think a lot of people thought that he would have put PJ Tucker on the highlight now, and that hasn't been the case.
That has not been the case. We will get to that later. But for this episode, we're going to talk a little bit of football.
Yes.
NFL
draft week.
That's right. NFL draft week coming up on Thursday. Everybody's excited about that. The time you get excited about who's going to be the best prospects, who's going to say that this player is going to be great, but then they end up not being great. So
who's going to write the racist scouting report?
Yeah, as happens all the time. Yep. So to talk about the NFL with us, we got somebody here. I'm really excited about him coming to the show. I think this is a great opportunity that we have. Andre Coleman, 5 years in the NFL as a wide receiver. He was a damn good kick returner. We're going to get into that as well, too. He also coached on the college side, being a wide receivers coach for the Texas Longhorns. He did that for about 3 seasons. Andre joins us now. Andre, what's up, man? Welcome to
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
We are good. How are you?
I'm blessed, man. I appreciate you, boys. Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Also, let's mention former third-round draft pick. Do I have that right?
Third-round draft pick, San Diego Chargers. Actually, you know what, man? I got drafted by the New England Patriots, right? And traded to the San Diego Chargers, and I was on an airplane, didn't know any of it.
Oh, damn. So wait, hold on.
Here's where we're
You got to tell us this. You got to tell us the story. So how did you find this out? You get off the airplane. How did this all go down?
Draft day, man. Draft day. It was one of those situations where I thought I was in a good situation. Thought I'd be drafted on day one, and I sat there all day, man. So, one of the things I suggest for guys going to the draft, don't sit around and wait for your name to be picked. It is a long, long, miserable day if it's not picked early. And
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, man. So the next day I was frustrated. I jumped on a plane and I was going back to Manhattan, Kansas, right, to K-State to work out. And I actually got drafted while I was at the airport. And when I landed, I had been drafted. and traded to the San Diego Chargers. So it was a kind of crazy. I was happy that I got drafted, but
let me ask you this too, Andre. On that note, did you want to go to New England, or were you really happy that you got to go to San Diego? Because I feel like I'd be happy to go to San Diego.
Listen, man, when you get that opportunity, when it's an opportunity for you to fulfill a lifelong dream, a lifelong goal, you don't really care where you're going. Like that to me, that's a little bit prima donna to say, I want to go to the spot. I was happy to be drafted. I was happy to play in the NFL. I was happy to be able to, change my life, man.
Yeah, no doubt. You know exactly what that is like. And you know what it's like for a lot of these young men this week. So let's go a little bit before that, Andre. You played 5 seasons in the NFL. You played for the Chargers, as you said. You also played for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. So you had a nice career there. But when you go back to preparing for the NFL draft, what was that like for you in the months from deciding you're going to try to do this professionally, combine, workouts, meeting with teams? What was it like in your preparation leading up to the draft?
So now, man, everything, back then, we're a little bit more old school, right? I stayed at K-State. I worked out with our head strength coach, who I felt like knew me the best and and prepared me the best. But nowadays, you got guys that are traveling and they're hanging out, they're working out with these trainers, and everything is really fancy now. But everybody's process is different. I mean, you're spending, from the time the season's over, I mean, you're spending time preparing for the combine. And so you're doing very specific drills because you want to get, you want to put up good numbers, have a pro day that you want to shine, on, but it's really a long, waiting game. I got drafted by the Chargers. I got drafted by the Patriots and traded to the Chargers. And I don't think I talked to either one of them in the process leading up to the draft.
Wow.
So you just never know, man. Like, you just got to be prepared for your name to be called. And when it's called, you got to be ready to step up.
How did that work out? Like, you didn't know they were you didn't know that you were being scouted by them at all?
No, I did. So, all 32 teams will come by. All 32 teams will talk to you. But, if you're not a top, a really a high pick, right, they're not courting you leading up to the draft. I mean, it really is a waiting game. I mean, they'll reach out to you, make sure they got the right contact information, make sure they got the right phone number. But, if you're not probably one of those first day guys for sure, there's not a whole lot of courting in the process.
Damn, well, that's a lot in terms of the waiting game and just waiting, to hear and not knowing and the unsurety, and even back then, just a different time of that, you're right. It's a different game now. But then you've also worked on the college side. You worked with kids at Texas, and you've worked with guys who probably are trying to get into the draft where you were and trying to play in the league. How do you, as a coach, with all your information from playing the league, prepare those kids for playing in the NFL and get ready for draft day?
Yeah, man, I started off at Youngstown State. I was there for 3 years, and then I moved on to Kansas State. I was there for 6 years, which is my alma mater, and was here at the University of Texas for the last 3 seasons. And for me, man, when day one, my mentality, because that's where I've been, I'm already trying to prepare you, right? And it's preparing you, on the field, and it's preparing you off the field, right? And as you get a little bit older, obviously, you start talking about the NFL thing. But I try to be a truth teller to my players, right? My guy's gonna tell you that I'm gonna shoot them straight and that I'm gonna keep it real. And sometimes it's brutal honesty. And the reality is, less than 1% of the guys are gonna make it to the NFL, man. So right. I'm talking to these guys about, hey, man, you got to make sure you get your degree. You got to make sure you network. You got to make sure you build relationships while you're here in school, because I mean, you can make it, because I did. I'm not saying that you can't, but the chances are slim, and, everybody's got this, they got this fantasy of going to the league, just because you go to a BCS or a Power 5 school. And that's not the case, man. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of commitment, takes a lot of dedication. And quite frankly, most guys just not dedicated and committed to doing it. It sounds good, right? It sounds good going to the league, but right, the commitment and the work that it takes, most guys ain't about that life.
What would you say are the biggest differences now in preparing for the draft compared to like before when you were doing it? Because now I feel like throughout the course of my life, and I'm 28, so throughout the course of my life, the draft has become a bigger and bigger deal, like seemingly every season, right? Like I remember specifically in '06, I remember the Reggie Bush draft, Mario Williams, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember that being a pretty big deal on TV. But now, like the entire process starts much sooner. You have more guys coming out with mock drafts and things of that nature, people who know shit, people who don't know shit. And like it seems like there's more of a spotlight and more pressure now. So I don't know. Could you speak to that, like the differences and similarities?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. I think, man, that everything is, with the information age, with the social media age,
Right.
everything's just bigger now, right? Everything is a production. That's probably, one of the things that I learned, in getting back into the game from a coaching perspective is that there's a lot of perception, right? There's a lot of what you see, and then there's a lot of the stuff that's really going on behind closed doors, man. And so, when I played, I didn't understand the business of the NFL, and now that I'm a little bit older and maybe a little bit more mature, from a coaching aspect, there's a lot of politics behind a lot of stuff, man. And it's frustrating because I think it's taken the college game. That's when it used to be fun, right? You used to play for something, right? You play for your guys, you play for your buddy, you play for the guy to the right, to the left of you. And now, especially with this name, image, and likeness deal in college, man, it's much more of a business, even at a high school level now, right? Kids are getting recruited and they want to know what kind of NIL deals they're getting. They're talking about money. And so it's really changed the game. And if players don't have the right guidance around them, it could be difficult, man.
I think you made an interesting point there, Andre, on that, because I'm curious about how you feel as a coach who've watched that too, with somebody who's played the NIL stuff. I'm sure it sounds to me like I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're glad to see these kids get their money, but you can also see how it could be a problem or sort of distraction in a way, which I've always thought that too. We can see that. I want these kids to get their money. Please get their money, because we know the NCAA is not doing right by some of these kids in a way. But have you seen that be a distraction to kids in coaching or around that circle? Is that something that concerns you going forward as a coach, working with kids in that way?
I've seen it, and again, if you don't have the right guidance and the right circle around you, quite frankly, man, a lot of these guys, 17, 18 years old, they ain't ready to handle it. I wasn't ready to handle it when I was 17, 18. So, you give a 17, 18-year-old, a bunch of money, a couple $100,000, and more money, more problems, right? They got to deal with, some of these guys are living better than their families, right? So that's stressful, right? That can be different. Some of these guys, they just don't understand. A lot of it is given to these guys, right? And things have to be earned. And so a lot of times, man, you deal with a little bit of attitude. You deal with a generation that's that feels entitlement. It could be frustrating, man. That's why, it's a blessing for me right now to be able to have a little transition, a little bit of a break, because I was really like, not burnt out, but there's a lot that's going on in the game, and the game has changed a lot, in the last year. And quite frankly, they don't really know how to regulate it yet, right?
Right.
So, it's creating some issues, from an administrative standpoint.
Well, you saying that is actually a good transition to what I wanted to ask you next, which was about the state of football. And it could be college and the pros. You could tell me both. Do you like where the game is at? There are a lot of differences in the game. Before we got on here, you and Brian were talking about, lack of, kick returns. We'll get into that as well too. But the game is very different than when you played it. what do you like about the game that's better now, or the things that you don't like about game? Just tell me, what do you think about the state of football?
I understand the game. The game is starting to get watered down a little bit. I mean, let's keep it real, right? Like no kick returns, right?
Yeah, Bryan is totally gonna rock with you on this. Just want to let you know,
but it's real though. Like there's like, how can you tackle somebody without using your head? Like, tell me how that's possible, right? And so I understand we want to teach proper technique, proper fundamentals, to protect guys from injuries. But the game is getting a little tad soft right now, and I want to make sure that we keep it exciting, man, and make it the game that we all have grown to love.
Yeah, there's a lot that's taken from it. Go ahead, Bryan. I know you want to say something on there. Go ahead.
No, but it's interesting because like we have these same conversations about like just societally, a lot of things are skewing in that direction. And you could even bring it back to another sport, basketball, where it's a very different game, more finesse than it was like at one point. But what I wanted to ask Andre was like, just we're not seeing kick returns now. Basically, like they move the line up so that it's easier to just kick it out of bounds. We're barely seeing punt returns now and things of that nature. And like me and Dexter loved Dante Hall, who was a return specialist at some point. Devin Hester, who's awesome at it. And you were one of the best kick returners of the 90s. You had some 1,000-yard seasons, and it feels like we're never going to see that again. And people say that, look, it's dangerous, but it's also part of the game. And the entire game is dangerous. So I'm wondering, where's the sort of line here? And do you feel like they're sort of getting rid of like the 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" receiver / return specialist who can just be a game changer on any given return?
Well, that's happening, but at the same time, from a protection standpoint, the league's trying to protect itself as well, right? Like there's a lot of injuries. When I play, man, like we take a shot, you get your bell rung, we call it. I mean, we ain't lead a game for concussions, right? But now it's like, gotta take a tough hit. It's concussion protocol. It's, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. You want to make sure that you keep guys safe, but it's a physical game, right? And and you run the risk of serious injury if you play it. I was fortunate enough to not have any major injuries or surgeries, but I can definitely feel the licks years later.
Yeah, the game is what it is, and I'm with you on this, Andre. Right, like you got to protect the players' safety first. We don't want to see players get concussed. We don't want to see the major injuries. But I'm with Bryan on it too. Taking certain elements out, like the kick returning, has made the game, I would say, not as exciting for me. Right, it's not really about the physicality of the hits, but I love the great kick returners, like Bryan mentioned. I love seeing that as part of the game. But you also, you're a wide receiver, played the position of wide receiver, coach guys playing that position. What makes a wide receiver elite at the NFL level? You've seen a lot of the greats, and you've coached some guys that go into that. What makes the wide receiver elite at that NFL level?
Well, what I think makes a wide receiver elite, it's not necessarily the physical aspect. Yeah, you got to have some good size. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to catch. Those are the basic things that you got to have as a wide receiver. But I'm a firm believer that I think it's the 80-20 rule, right? And the 80 is obviously the mental side of the game. And there's a lot of guys who are great athletes, who are fast, who are big, and you see him on the hoof and you say, wow, this guy's a player, but he can't line up right. He's running the wrong route. And those are things that people from the stands necessarily, don't see. And so I don't care how good you are. If you're not running the right route, if you're not in the right place, I can't depend on you. And so a lot of it at the next level is mental. And, and quite frankly, it's about investing the time, right? It's about investing the time. When you practice for an hour and a half, 2 hours, when practice is over, what are you doing to get better? Are you staying out there? Are you working on your techniques and your fundamentals? Are you studying film? Do you understand coverages? Do you understand how to read, the secondary? All those things make a difference when you want to play at an elite level in the NFL, because the game is so fast. Like everybody's fast, everybody's bigger, everybody's stronger, everybody's faster. So you have to react faster. And a lot of times, guys, it's not because they're not physically gifted, it's because mentally they're not in a place to be able to play at that level.
One of the things that like people talk about when it's NFL draft season and NBA draft season in particular is whether or not there should still be a draft, because there's been sort of a little movement to sort of try to get rid of the draft that I don't think will ever be successful necessarily, but there are reasons that they make for that. Like, Andre, do you think guys coming out, like, do you think that there should still be a draft, or should guys be able to pick where they're going to work, basically, like in the way that Dexter and I would, for example? Like, or is there a different way to kind of do this?
Yeah, I like the draft, man. I like the draft. I like the the concept behind it. Hey, if you're not very good, you get a high pick. Problem is, I truly think this is the case on the college level, and I think it's the case on the pro level. Is some guys can identify talent and some guys just can't. That's just what it is. And you talk about like next week is the draft, and you got first round, right? And so one of the big positions that everybody takes in first round, you're gonna get quarterbacks, right? And so everybody thinks because you draft a quarterback in the first round, this guy's gonna be a good player. The reality is, Bryan, I got this from you, man. I listened to one of you guys' deal, and you always about the numbers, right? There's a 14% success rate for a quarterback being picked in the first round. 14%. So chances are you pick a quarterback in the first round, he's not gonna make it, right? And that success is being judged on, does he make it to a second contract? Does he lead his team to the playoffs? Like, there's a lot of analytics behind it. But the reality is, most guys get it wrong. Most guys get it wrong, man. And so, I think being able to identify talent and really know what it looks like. And to me, man, if you ain't been out there, if you ain't been around it, if you ain't played with it, if you ain't did it, you don't know, right? That's like me, stepping in and trying to do you guys' job. Like, you guys are professionals at what you do. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's the case. That's the case in a lot of situations in college. You got, there's some organizations that run that structure their recruiting in a way that a personnel guy is saying, hey, here's the guys we should take. And I'm like, I don't know. There's a guy out there. There's a guy out there that can tell me, what receiver I should take. You know what I'm saying? Right. How can you tell me which guy to take? But that's part of the game, man. That's the way it's structured a lot of times, and sometimes that can be challenged.
What are your thoughts on this year's draft, right? Because this is a draft. You talked about quarterbacks being taken in the first round, and a lot of times teams are looking for that next quarterback. Who's the guy that can get? You just brought up the numbers. 14% success rate. That ain't good. Most of the guys you pick there to be your starting QB or franchise QB you're hoping for, it's going to be a bust, pretty much, to what you're saying. This is not considered, as I'm sure you know, Andre, this is not considered to be a strong quarterback draft. What do you just think about this draft overall and the talent that's there? And do you think there's some good talent in this draft? Or is it just about the good teams, the good organizations identifying that talent as they always do, and the bad teams not doing that?
Well, I think that's part of it. The good teams know how to identify the talent, and they not just identify the talent, right? Pick talent that fits into your schematic scheme set, right? You can't, if a position needs a smaller scat type guy that can make people miss in space, you don't want to go pick a 6'4", 220-pound receiver. Like, he doesn't fit the bill. But I think there's good players. It's hard. There's good players every year. There's a lot of great players. And, there are great players at the Division III level. There are great players at, 1AA level that, maybe just didn't get the exposure. All right. But they went somewhere, they worked hard, they developed, and now they put themselves in a position, to have an opportunity to play at the next level. So it's hard to say when you don't sit back and watch the film yourself, right? There's certain things that I look at, like how he fires off the ball. Can he put his foot in the ground? Can he change directions? What kind of hands does he have? How's his football IQ? When you talk to him, how articulate is he? Does he understand the game? So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And, and most of these NFL teams are pretty thorough, man. I mean, they ask it everything. They're really, I tell my guys, they trying to find something negative to say about you. Right? That's their job. Like they are literally trying to find something negative to say. And so, again, some guys get it right. I mean, just look at the history of the NFL. Like some guys take guys, you never heard of them, but they play well because they're well coached, they're disciplined, and they're in the right spot. Right. And if you're fundamentally sound and you're smart, you're going to be in the right place. I can put you in position to make a play, as a coach. But I got to depend on you to do those things.
Right. Were there any knocks that you heard before the draft, in your experience?
Oh yeah, I was too short. I was too small. Right. I was 5'9", 165 pounds. So of course the biggest knock on me was, well, he can't handle the pounding. Right. He's not big enough. Right. But my strength was my speed. So I was able to come in and I was all rookie my rookie year. I made the all rookie team. So it could be done. So that's why I tell guys, man, Tyler Lockett's a guy that I recruited that I coached at Kansas State. Tyler's a 4-time Pro Bowler. Tyler's, 5'9", 175 pounds. He's not very big. He's not fancy. He's not flashy like some of the receivers. But I tell you what, man, his work ethic is impeccable. He's extremely smart. His football IQ is through the roof, and he catches everything that you throw his way. And so that's why he's been able to make over $100 million and be a NFL All-Pro multiple times.
I'll tell you what, Andre.
Dex don't know about that because he's 6'2" over there. I'm about your height. I'm about 5'8". You know what I'm saying? I'm a little shorter, but I had to ask the question because I remember, right? I remember, but also just going back in the Football Reference, seeing 5'9", 165. I'm like, all my favorite football players are around the same size, but Dex don't know about that.
What I do know, Andre, I knew that question was coming, and I knew that once you gave your height and the knocks that were against you when you were trying to come in the league, you are a Bryan all-star. You were the kind of player Bryan would gravitate to. You had the speed, you were short, people doubted you, and you overcame. That matters too. We got to say that too.
Look, I was a big Trenton Holiday guy. You know what I'm saying? He's like 5'5". Darren Sproles, I told you that was one of my favorite players.
My boy, yeah, good dude.
I love that. I love watching Darren Sproles. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
These bro, you can't put size on heart. You know what I'm saying?
That's a Bryan motto right there. That's a Bryan motto right there.
And these pros got heart. Tyler Lockett got heart. He's got the heart of a lion. You know what I'm saying? So guys like that, I'll take. And those are the intangibles you don't get to see. So when you're drafted a guy, you got to go sit down and talk to him, man. You got to understand, where is he from? What kind of backgrounds he have? What kind of families he have? And all those things will tell you. And it's the same thing recruiting on a high school level. You see some kids, they may be really good, and you see them and you talk to them, and then you watch their actions. And then you say, I don't think this guy's a great player, but I don't think he has the character that we need, right? I don't think he has the work ethic that we're going to need for him to really excel at this level. And and so guys like that, I like to turn away from. You know what I mean? But there's some guys in this profession that want to recruit those guys. No matter what. And sometimes those guys just aren't good for your program.
Fit matters, chemistry matters. How did it feel for you? I'm going to follow up on Bryan's question here. 5'9", 165 pounds. A lot of people told you were too small. You couldn't take the hits. How did it feel when you made the NFL and you had some success? I feel like if I was you, I'd be like, told y'all. Telling y'all this whole time.
Well, it was something like that, man. But it's like I was just excited, to have an opportunity to make it and play in the NFL. I mean, I knew I was good enough. You know what I'm saying? And I was ready to put the work. I did have a chip on my shoulder. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I had a little chip on my shoulder, and my rookie year, like I said, was able to make the all rookie team. We won the AFC Championship, went to the Super Bowl. Only team in charge of history to make it to the Super Bowl to this day.
Yep.
And so I'm pretty proud about that, to play a role in that.
You absolutely should be. No doubt about that, Andre. A couple more things before we get you out of here. NFL, we've seen a just lack of black head coaches. You've been in coaches. You know about the Brian Flores lawsuit that went down at the top of February. what do you think about what's going on in the NFL and also in college? Are we seeing any kind of change? Because it seems like it's really been slow. We've been talking about the same problems, especially as Black people. I see you shaking your head on that. We've been talking about this for so long, Andre. Like, where is the change coming? And do you think this Brian Flores lawsuit is a step towards that change?
I mean, we all know that there's a discrepancy in with the numbers with coaches. When you look at a team, whether it's college or pro, the vast, a large majority of those guys, are minority. But I mean, I guess it's just like any big profession, you know what I mean, or any big, company, right? We have those same things at Fortune 500 companies, right? Or
Yep.
are there Black, senior VPs, right? So it's frustrating because we dominate the profession as players, right? Yet we're not represented the same way from a coaching standpoint. And it gets, it could get, Brian Flores. I support Brian. I was at the combine about a month and a half ago or so, and I had an opportunity to meet him. And I had never met him before in my life, but knowing the burden that he shouldered, that he took on his shoulders, I got a lot of respect for him. I tell you what, I just watched the scene, and a lot of coaches in the NFL have a lot of respect for him. I know guys that was on his staff at the university. I mean, with the Dolphins, and they speak highly of him. Just to respect. A lot of people, came up and spoke to him. He's very intelligent. He seems like a man of his. He seems like a man of great character, and so he has his story. You know what I mean? He has his truth. I wasn't there, right? I didn't get the text messages. I don't know,
Right.
but I do know a lot of shady stuff goes on in this profession,
Mhm.
both college and pro.
Mhm.
That I know, right? And everybody has their own experience,
Right.
and if that's Brian Flores' experience, then I support him 100%.
Absolutely. Gotta support him in his fight for that. Last question for us, Andre. What is next for you? Because you're in a bit of a transition period right now. Got some good credentials, NFL, did some coaching. What's next for Andre Coleman? What are you trying to do next?
To be honest with you, man, like right now, I'm focused on just taking a break. It's been difficult, man. Like we came through we just came through a pandemic, right? We had a social movement, right? That was tough, right? And I was at the University of Texas, and we had to deal with this. I was at Texas. That there's a lot of stuff that that affected me, like as a man, as a Black man, it affected me, right? That I had to I kind of had to just wear it, right? And I had to be strong for my players. I had to stand strong for my players. It was difficult. So I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation, man, that uh, I'm still under contract, so I'm able to take some time right now and focus on my mental health, right? Get myself right. I'm working with a company called Vision Pursue, man, and they uh, they focus on performance mindset, right? Just all the things that go through your mind, all the negative thoughts, and then learning how to deal with those, how to channel those, and how to have the proper response, right? Because it's challenging. There are a lot of young people, a lot of kids, and people like myself that have gone through a lot, in the last 2 years, right? So I just want to focus on getting myself right, focus on my kids, my daughters, man, being a better father, right? Using this opportunity to spend some time with them. We spend so much time on the road recruiting. Like there's over a 50% divorce rate, man, because coaches just spend so much time. Like it don't take that long to get it done, right?
Right.
But you spend a lot of time, and so you sacrifice a lot of things, man. And And family is one of the things that coaches sacrifice, right? A lot of people don't understand that side of the game. So I want to spend some time with my girls, man, and my grandbaby. I got a granddaughter, and then and focusing on my foundation. I got a foundation called Dream Village. Our mission is to use the influence of sports and entertainment and the culture to help at-risk kids. We do things like, targeted tutoring, ACT, SAT prep, mentoring. So I'll spend some time and just, and giving back and just being thankful, for the many blessings that I've been able to have over the years, man.
No, man, that's beautiful. And I'm also really happy to hear you talk on mental health, because I think a lot of times we've been having that conversation around athletes, but not necessarily coaches. And I do want to say, I know you were coaching at the University of Texas, and the Odds of Texas song, and I don't understand why the people down there still want to keep singing that. They need to get rid of that. I'm going to say that. And I think that's obviously going to affect the players who are Black that are there in Austin, and also the people that are coaching there too. And so I appreciate you speaking about the mental health, Andre, because it's important, especially for us as men, Black men, Latino men like Bryan, for us to speak about that. So I like hearing that from a coach around athletes. So thank you for talking on that. We appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys, man. You guys, like I said, you guys do an awesome job, man. And you guys really make it cool. I'll come back anytime, man. I really enjoyed spending some time with you guys.
Oh man, we definitely have to have you back, man. We really like you, especially when Bryan. You're into the Bryan Club. You're in that height range. You know what I mean? So he's definitely gonna want you back. I'm telling you, man. You bring the energy. You get hyped up. Just send us a message. Bryan will be like, yeah, let's bring Andre back. He got that same energy. It'll be good.
Hey, NFL season will be here before you know it. Training camp, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we'd love to have you back on again, man, to come and kick it with us, everybody. That is Andre Coleman. You can definitely follow him on Twitter. Check out his foundation and all the great work that he is doing. Andre, thank you again for joining us on the Ain't Hard to Tell podcast, man.
I appreciate you, brothers, man. You guys keep doing your thing. It ain't hard to tell you boys are the baddest out there, man.
We like that.